Pelosi expressed concerns about this. Here's what she had to say.
In our view, the administration conducted a provocative, disproportionate airstrike against Iran, which endangered Americans, and did so without consulting Congress.
We did it because they were looking to blow up our embassy.
President Trump is now saying that possibly 4 embassies were at risk of being targeted. What is the political fallout from all of that? I want to bring in this morning on the Hill political strategist Avis Jones-DeWeaver. She's a consultant with Insight Unlimited, and she joins us here on the Hill this morning. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
We heard the speaker there just a moment ago. Clearly, Congress, and it's not just the Democrats, some Republicans expressed a lot of frustration with this briefing that was held this week. Republican Senator Mike Lee, Republican Senator Rand Paul saying that it was some of the worst briefings they ever had. Now, some of this is a result of Congress not being notified ahead of time. Shed some light for people on that. Is it required that the president call Congress, tell them about this, or is it up to the president, the commander-in-chief?
Well, if there is an imminent threat or if it's self-defense, the president is allowed to move ahead without necessarily alerting Congress. But under the Constitution, you have to get congressional approval to go to war. And killing the head of a governmental institution in another nation is an act of war. And so I think what was being expressed was some concern that there was not formal approval, and there was hardly any connection with any members of Congress prior to this act, which has made Americans vulnerable, quite frankly.
In fact, there were 3 Republicans who actually voted for the War Powers Limitation bill that went through the Congress late last week. It's going to move on into the Senate. A Senate version sponsored by Virginia Senator Tim Kaine is going to be up for a vote already. Senator Mike Lee and Rand Paul said that they've supported it, maybe another Republican senator at all. So is the message here to the White House, listen, we need to be kept in the loop on Iran because this could spiral out into something much, much larger than just one action against one general?
Absolutely. And it's done under the context that this is a president that we've seen does not seem to really act in ways that are well thought out. He seems to be very impulsive.
Does that run the risk, though, of there has been this long tradition in American foreign policy of unity here at home when the president has to send troops or into harm's way? Has that now changed along with everything else that has changed in Washington?
I definitely think it is. I mean, I think one of the biggest ways in which that was sort of set on his head when you had the president overseas talking about how he trusts Putin more than he trusts his own intelligence agency.
I want to shift gears to impeachment here. Speaker Nancy Pelosi now saying she is going to send over those 2 impeachment articles over to the Senate. Now, Nancy Pelosi has said over and over and over again the reason she wasn't doing this because she wanted witnesses in the Senate. It appears now that this Senate trial could begin without witness. So what was the point of the delay?
Well, the delay, in my estimation, was actually quite effective. We've had a lot of new information divulged since she's held onto those articles. We've had Michael Bolton now come out and say that he would, in fact, testify if he is subpoenaed by the Senate. You've also had an email that's been divulged, that's been unredacted, that's shown greater implication for the president in this scandal. And so I think it was very strategic. Some people right now are even suggesting that she only send over one article and retain the other article to sort of drag this on a little bit more.
All right, real quick, we want to get to the Iowa caucuses because we're 22 days away from people casting their first votes for the 2020 presidency. And here's the latest numbers out of Iowa this morning. Senator Bernie Sanders on top, followed by Mayor Pete, former Vice President Biden, and Elizabeth Warren rounding out the top 4. How much do you make of this?
It's a heat. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting poll. I mean, obviously, this is the first.
It looks to me like a 4-way tie.
It's a 4-way tie, but the reality is that Iowa is important because it's the first. It's not important because it's not really, to me, reflective of the nation, much less the Democratic Party. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in Iowa, but I don't believe the nominee will be the winner of Iowa.
Avis Jones-DeWeaver, she is a Democratic strategist and founder of a group here in D.C. We appreciate you coming in on the Hill this morning.
Thank you.
We've got more with you this morning. You know, there's only 2 female candidates left in the Democratic presidential field. We are now going to drill down on women in politics. And Fox 5's On the Hill continues right after this.